So welcome everyone to another edition of Storytime Live. My name is Justin Ramos and I'm an educator at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. And today I'm really excited about this book because it's about one of my favorite animals, the desert tortoise. This book is called Life in the Slow Lane, a Desert Tortoise Tale. That's what it looks like. Life in the Slow Lane. It was written by Conrad J. Storad and illustrated by Nathaniel P. Jensen. Now, these are called desert tortoises, but to me they look a lot like turtles. And this book got me thinking, what's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what the difference is? Is a turtle a tortoise? Is a tortoise a turtle? Are they the same thing? Are they in the same family? Well, I actually learned from this that a tortoise is a member of the turtle family that spends most of its life on land. And a turtle, you know, the ones that you may be more familiar with, like we see a lot of those red-eared sliders around here in fountains and ponds. They're actually non-native, but those are turtles that spend most of their life in water. And desert tortoises love water. They love to drink in it. They love to bathe in it whenever they get a chance. But they do spend most of their life on land, and that's what makes them a tortoise. Now, when you think about tortoises or turtles or any creatures that look like that, what do you think of? What are some of the things that pop into mind when someone says turtle or tortoise? Think about that. What do you think of when someone says turtle? I think when someone says turtle or someone says tortoise, the two things that come to my mind are shell and slow. They love to go slow, and they have a really big shell, and those are the two things that come to mind. So let's see what this book has to say about being a tortoise and having a shell and going slow and living life in the slow lane. So again, this is Life in the Slow Lane, a Desert Tortoise Tale by Conrad Storad, illustrated by Nathaniel Jensen. Let's get started. And thanks to my cousin Ryan and Michelle for lending me this book. Starts off. It's life in the slow lane, the slow life for me, the tortoise way, it's the best way to be. So there's our tortoise there, enjoying the desert landscape, and she's singing this little ditty. Now, what do we notice here about this picture? This is supposed to be the desert, right? And look at all these plants, and there's some water, some cacti. When I think of the desert, I think of dry and sand and hot, but the desert is actually home to a large variety of plants and animals that survive on very little water. So it looks like our tortoise is very happy there. And can anyone notice something else in the background there? Another animal that you may be familiar with regarding tortoises? I see a little hare back there, a little jackrabbit. I wonder if he's going to come up more in the story. Young Shelly the tortoise was singing one day. She went up to her grandpa to hear what he'd say. So there's our tortoise. Her name is Shelly, and she's going to visit her grandpa. Come closer, dear Shelly. I'll tell you a tale of our life in the desert with cactus and quail. Our family's old. Listen close now, my dear. We've lived on this planet for millions of years. We come from old stock. We have friends by the dozens. And here's a surprise. Crocodiles are your cousins. So there's Shelly went to go visit her grandpa. Now, where does it look like grandpa lives? Looks like he lives in some sort of cave, right? Some sort of hole underground. Well, as we'll learn, that's called a burrow. B-U-R-R-O-W. And it's funny, if you look at the pictures there, there's Uncle Croc, and they have all these prizes for 10th place, for 9th place, for last place, for the slowest. I actually didn't notice that until a while ago. It's kind of funny. You know, usually you see trophies for first place, but these tortoises, Slow, and they have trophies for last place. So Grandpa's telling Shelly, you come from an old family, and tortoises actually are from a family of animals that have been on the earth for over 200 million years, like crocodiles. So they must be doing something right. If they're here for 200 million years, tortoises, maybe it's the moving slowly. We eat leaves and grasses, prickly cactus and flowers. We always need water. We can store it for hours. There's Grandpa. What does it look like he's grilling on the grill there? Looks like he's grilling maybe some cactus. Looks like he has some leaves. And if we look closely in the background, there's our jackrabbit again. Always running. Always running somewhere. So yeah, Grandpa is telling Shelly that, we've been around for millions of years, and we eat leaves and grasses and cacti. Now, don't you think it would be a little hard to eat a cactus? So prickly and so spiny? I wouldn't want to eat a cactus, would you? Well, maybe if it took the spines off, it's actually pretty good. But turtles actually have really sharp and big, broad teeth with little ridges and bumps called serrations, and that helps them grind the cactus down because it's really thick, and that helps them grind the cactus down so they can eat it safely without harming themselves. Does anyone know what it's called if you're an animal that eats only plants? Herbivore. Animal that eats meat, like us humans, we're called carnivores or omnivores if we eat both. But tortoises are herbivores, meaning they only eat plants. They don't eat any other animals. Our hind feet are thick, kind of stubby and fat. We're not built for racing, no doubt about that. Jackrabbits are speedy, just look at them run. A tortoise just thinks moving slowly is more fun. So there's the race and the tortoise and the hare. Looks like the hare has won, but looks like Shelly and her grandpa are just taking their time. Going slow. Anyone see what the signs say? Can anyone read that? Take your time, wind down, mellow. That's funny. Wild hummingbirds hover, they dart and they scurry. A tortoise just asks, why on earth should I hurry? It's life in the slow lane, the slow life for me, the tortoise way, it's the best way to be. There's Shelly and her grandpa having a picnic. Can we see what they're having for their picnic? Anyone see? They've got some flowers. They've got some water. There's the cactus flowers. Anyone remember what that's called? They're herbivores. They eat plants. Our front legs for digging are flat, wide, and strong. We dig dens and burrows. They're deep and they're long. We return to these burrows. That's where we can hide. When predators hunt us, we're safely inside. So what are they building here? They're building a burrow. And it's basically a small underground hole where tortoises live that looks a lot like Grandpa's house. He lives in a burrow. Now, why do you think a tortoise that lives in the desert would want to live in a burrow? Probably because it's shady. Probably because it offers protection from predators. It's easy to build. It's just kind of digging, and they have really big, broad feet for digging, so they can move a lot of rocks and hard dirt out of the way. We're built for protection with a strong, bony shell. We tuck head and tail in, and our 4 feet as well. Then nothing can hurt us. We're tucked in for hours. When the danger is gone, we come out to eat flowers. So it looks like it's hiding from some sort of coyote, maybe a desert fox. And it has all 4 of its arms and legs inside and its head too, so he's safe. Nothing will hurt our friend there. We can live to be 60, Shelly's old grandpa said. Some can live to 100, some die young instead. Our desert is changing. It's people, you know. They like to move quickly. They rarely go slow. They build homes and highways. They need lots of room. But tortoises worry. Are we facing our doom? What does it look like is being built in their home? Looks like a freeway, right? Some sort. Highway, city. Let's try to convince them the fast lane is wrong. Remember the tortoise and join in our song. Look who's there. It's the rabbit again. He's running by and he sees all these tortoises. Do anyone see what their signs say? Relax, rest, slow down, ease up, be still, slow. Anyone remember their song? Oh, it's life in the slow lane for me, the tortoise way, it's the best way to be. And look who's hanging out with them now. It's the jackrabbit. I think he embraced the slow life after seeing that they were living so well. So, that's the end of our story about our desert tortoise. So, after reading that, why do we think that tortoises move so slow? Given what we know about where they live in the desert and what they carry on their backs, why do you think they move so slow? Well, it's because their shell is made up of several parts. That's why it's so dense. I have a little friend here. This is my turtle. His name is Twir. Him here. So the shell, the outer part of the shell is called the carapace. This bony part here is called the carapace, and the carapace, the whole shell, is made up of two layers. The upper layer, if you can see these kind of plates here, they're called scutes. And scutes are made up of keratin, which is the same material that your fingernails are made out of. Pretty hard, pretty strong. So this whole layer is basically like a big, strong, thick fingernail. And underneath the scutes, these plates here, is actually bone. They're actually ribs that have been turned into bone. The ossified ribs is under the scutes. That would be the white part under his head. And the bottom part here, that's called a plastron. I actually have a real turtle plastron. Look here. I found this in the pond at Central Park, and I took it home. So this is a real turtle's. This is the underside. It's called a plastron. It's also made of keratin, so it's nice and strong, and that protects them from anything that may hurt them. You know, when they're walking across the desert, if there's rocks, if there's anything pointy, if someone tries to flip them over and a predator like a raven tries to peck them, it's not going to get through this plastron because it's very, very thick. So again, the plastron is the belly. This whole part, the shell, is called the carapace. The upper layer of the carapace are called scutes. It's a really fun word to say, scutes, right? And then the bottom part is bone here. So turtles are basically wearing, their house on their back, and that's why they need to conserve energy. It's hot in the desert. They store water in their shells. So there's a lot of weight, and it's really hot, and they're big animals. So they move pretty slowly, and that's why they can live, if they survive the egg and the growing stage. They can live to up to 100 years old or more. There's a Galapagos turtle that lived to be over 100 years old. It died not too long ago. So I would encourage you all, at the end of this story, to take a lesson from Shelly and live life in the slow lane. And by that, I mean, do something slowly today. Whether it's eating a sandwich, or if you're coloring, or if you're doing homework, if you're taking a walk, if you're going for a drive, let's take a page out of Shelley's book and, when life is moving so fast and everything's going zoom, zoom, zoom like the jackrabbit, let's be like Shelley and take something slow today and just kind of savor it and be in that moment like Shelley and, kind of embrace that tortoise life and do something slowly and enjoy it. So, thank you all for joining me. Again, this was called Life in the Slow Lane, a Desert Tortoise Tale by Conrad J. Storad and Nathaniel P. Jensen. This is the book. And this is me, Gallery Interpreter Justin, urging you all to live life in the slow lane today. And maybe it'll work out for you the same way it worked out for Shelley. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend and stay safe out there.